Hello. Welcome back. I've got an update for you. And I've spent a lot of time working on this, and I've added a bunch of new things. Main thing being a camera system kind of setup that I feel will give me a lot of flexibility and that I can control from Ableton as well. I worked on the environment. As you can see, there's a bunch of cool little fog effects going on, and some stuff in the background, like some nice rocks and a new sky, and yeah, and I worked on the ground. Ground's pretty fancy looking now. I changed the system for selecting the track. So now, as I told you in a previous video, I'd set it up in such a way that you can choose a track here, but it was always just one track that you can add an actor to. So now that variable's been turned into an array. So I've got a boolean variable here, which is editable. It's just a series of bools that you can switch on and off, and each of them corresponds to a track. So that's just a small addition, but it's really handy because, as you'll see in a second when I show it off, there's some elements that you might want to have in multiple tracks. For example, this guy here has been added to track 0 and 3. And then, for example, this guy is in 0, so they're shared. And for example, this guy is in 3, so that's also shared with that guy. I think the biggest addition has been the camera setup. So let me just turn on my sprites here. There we go. Look at him. You can't look away either. He's always looking at you. The camera system is split up in a bunch of different actors that all do different stuff. The most important of which is the camera director, which is a kind of routing blueprint that does two main things. It imports the note ranges for the camera switch layer in Ableton. I've made a new layer in Ableton that sends MIDI notes, same as the track switch would do, and it sends it out in 3 ranges. C-2 through B-2 will be the camera selection, so you can effectively, like, I'm always working in 12s, because there's 12 notes in an octave, so then I can divide a track up into ranges. Then C-1 through to B-1, that's going to be specific behaviors and camera shakes that you can trigger. And then C0 to B0, that's going to be the target selection, because the cameras also look at a specific target. So that's what Camera Director does. It gets MIDI notes, sets divides them into ranges, and then for the first range, -2, octave -2, that goes to the camera selection, and then octave 0 goes to the behaviors. And it also adds like a global camera world shake. This is actually a really cool trick. When you make a camera shake, let me go into my camera shakes here. I spent a little while trying to figure this out, so I thought I might show you. If you add the oscillation oscillation duration, if you set that to -1, it'll loop infinitely. So there's a couple more objects here. The look at object being the happy face you see here. That's basically just the object that all the cameras here are being told to look at. So these are all Cine cameras. They have a look at tracking variable, and you can select the object you want it to look at here. And then inside of the look at object, boink. Yeah, it also receives MIDI notes from the same track, so the camera track through the OSC router, and it goes through octave -1, so note 12 till 23 in this case, and that will just let you switch between targets. And then there's a bunch of like target actors. They're actually just a tiny little actor that doesn't do that much. It just stands there. You can tell it to parent to a specific actor. Same as with the other objects, the lookat object has an array of variables here that you can add things to. So when I set up a scene, I'll stick in the lookat object, I'll choose my targets from this list and I'll add them in, and yeah, then you're good to go. I made a couple of camera preset sort of things. Most of them are just static. There's a couple of rotating cameras for which you can choose, well, the lookat object, same as with the other one, but also the rotation speed, the radius around which it rotates. What I've called height wave here, which is essentially just kind of an oscillation on the z-axis, the height and the speed of that. The local fog is done. There's a lot of tutorials up on YouTube on how to make this now. It's kind of a standard procedure. Cool thing that I added was a noise that pans over it using the absolute world position. So if I just go into my fog cloud material here. So this is actually something I do quite a lot in shaders. I'll use the world position of something and I'll mask it to make it into a 2 vector essentially. In this case, if you mask R and G, that gives you a top-down view, and then it just pans over the whole lot. So it creates this motion in the fog, which I think is really adds to everything. The fog is so cool in Unreal, it's crazy. Just look at that. It's so good. Okay. Right, I'm going to just switch off my face. On the Ableton side, I haven't changed that much. I've just mostly added the camera switch, like the 2 tracks that I've played for you before. They've now got the sort of a sequence set up in here. So in this octave, I'm switching between camera views. In this octave, I'm switching targets. Here, I'm just adding some little shakes and wiggles and stuff. And it can get pretty dense. This one's got a bunch of notes in there. Let's just run through this once more. They're going to be the same, as I said before. These are going to be the same tracks as I've shown you before, but this time they've got just these new features added, and hopefully you'll see how much it adds to the whole experience. So, and here we go. Our old friend, blobby, particle blob, blobby guy. I'm just going to skip ahead a bit. Crazy for the next bit. Yeah! Really happy with this. And it's gone. So yeah, that's the general idea. I feel like it's pretty good upgrade. Now I'm kind of at a point where I can just add stuff to this, you know. I've got my camera system working, but now I'm just going to add a whole bunch of stuff for the different tracks and make camera sequences and things. So yeah, pretty excited. Well, that was it really. Hope you enjoyed it. I mentioned that Sam and I were going to do a Patreon. We're still planning to do that, but we're both kind of busy with work and stuff, and Christmas is coming up, so give us a few more weeks. I think we're probably going to do this in early January. Just, you know, give ourselves some time to also just give you guys something fun to work with, to play with once we put it up. And yeah, I hope you're all happy and healthy, and take it easy, and I'll see you next time.